Welcome to On the Way Moments, a podcast from St. Anthony on the Desert Episcopal Church here in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. We wish it was that. It kind of looks like that.
It does.
I'm Will Strong.
And I'm Jill Kyler.
And on today's episode, it's one of those segments that we call Just a Moment, where Jill and I talk about a topic that we find interesting, and we hope you do too. We don't have
really
all the answers. But that's what we do on this show. So, Jill, what are we talking about today?
Well, today, I thought we'd take on belonging.
Ooh, and why belonging?
Yeah, well, belonging is kind of a watchword that we're using this year here at St. Anthony, because we feel like belonging is so crucial, like step one, before anything else, is for people to feel like they belong here. And then the rest will come on after that.
So what does belonging mean to you?
Well, for me, the first thing in belonging is my family. But then the next is the community that I'm in. And St. Anthony is definitely that community for sure. But it can be just the people who are around you that you might see frequently. You feel like you belong to that group of people, you know?
Yeah.
It can be at any level,
right.
Superficial or very deep. But I think that what's really crucial to true belonging is to have a feeling of accountability.
Right.
That the group as a whole wants you to get better. You want to get better at whatever it is you're doing. Right. And you hold each other accountable for it. And then just basically that you're welcomed.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yeah.
To feel like you're part of a group.
Yeah. I think about that when we've talked a lot about accountability and
a lot.
And that accountability is that I always think of that moment when you belong to a group, when you belong to a family system, a community, you want, like you said, you want to better yourself. And so I always think of those times when parents would be like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed.
We've all used that.
Right. And so it's one of those things where it's like, that's when I feel you kind of know you're a part of a community. You are a part of something bigger. And I think that kind of goes into why even belong to someone, something. And I think the reality is we are created to be in a society. Otherwise, we would be solitary. We'd probably be living in this desert. And I ultimately,
behind this cactus.
I would love to live in the desert in my head for about 5 minutes. But the reality is we're created by God to live in community, to be in community. Right. When we work as a team, things just seem possible. Things seem to be a little bit easier. It's always good to know that if something happens, somebody's got my back. Right. And then I think for me, the most important thing is that being a part of a community really helps me know that I am a part of something bigger than ourselves, and larger than ourselves, because it's just important.
Oh, for sure. And I think just piggybacking onto that, it helps us to create an identity, our own identity of who we truly are. Because I think we're looking for this all through our lives, because it can change. Circumstances change. Your identity changes. And that's where the accountability comes in too. That if your identity starts to change in not so positive of a way, you have a group of people that nudge you back on track. And we all need that. And then the other thing I think of too is that you have a group of people who can go through triumphs and tragedies with you. Triumphs are always best when they're shared. Mm-hmm. And then the same thing with tragedies, you just can feel so alone. Mm-hmm. So to have a group of people who are there to support one another is so valuable for each of us. And being part of a group, belonging to a group, gives us the opportunity to learn how to lead. Because if you're off by yourself, you never get that. No. And we don't talk too much about leadership, but it just is such an important building block in our personalities, in the way we view ourselves, in our self-confidence. And when you have a group of people that, as you said, have your back and encourage you to step out of your little private zone into a more public arena, being part of a group helps you do that.
Yeah.
And then it also helps us manage stress.
Amen.
Because there's nothing like a group of friends or a church community when you start to get a little crazy, can say, breathe.
Yeah.
Step back. It's not that bad. Did anyone die?
Right.
Breathe.
Breathe. I think I was talking about, I need someone to talk me off this cliff right now.
Exactly.
And I think being a part of that community is very important. When I start getting that anxiety, it's like, oh,
right.
Hey, Jill, can you help me out here?
It puts things back into
Yep.
perspective, and that's what we need. When we
Yeah.
start losing perspective, we need someone there. And then consequently, it just helps you live longer.
That's a cool one. I like those studies that have come out
Oh, yeah.
about belonging to a group and living longer. It's just
In
nice.
Asia, and it might be Japan, this latest study that I saw, where they have multiple generations living together. It's not just adult children living
Right.
with parents, but it's grandma, great-grandma, great-grandpa, all living together under one roof. And they find that people live longer because they are part of this group and that they have a purpose.
Yep.
And that people know they're there
Right.
and that they're not alone.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I'm planning on living to 120, so
Yes.
get ready. Get ready
Yes.
for that. And then being part of a group, you're just exposed to new ideas.
Mhm.
Because even though you belong to a certain group doesn't mean that you all think the same
Right.
way.
Right.
In fact, it would be awful if you did. If I joined a group of people who were all like me, it would not be a good thing. But to be exposed to other ideas, other ways of thinking of things, it just helps us expand our horizons.
Yeah.
So I think that that in itself is a perfect reason to
Yeah.
belong to a group of diverse individuals.
I think that's a really good kind of where it leads us next, because when we belong to something, that's different than fitting in.
Oh, yeah.
And so fitting in and belonging are actually opposites. Fitting in, and we did this, we've all done this in high school in groups, and not even just high school, but in groups. We go into somewhere, we kind of assess the situation. We say, okay, so this is what I'm dealing with. And then we change something about us, a look, our speech, our, whatever it is. Clothes, right. And it's just belonging does not ever ask us to change who we are. It's not to try to change who you are it might work for about a week if you're lucky, but it's not sustainable, and you're not going to be yourself. So belonging and fitting in are opposites, and because you really have to find your belonging, your group. Be true to yourself, and then that's going to kind of help that belonging in that group come about.
Right. Well, still getting better,
Right.
Improving, being held accountable, but as who you are.
Right, exactly. Not because I changed my hair or my clothes to fit
Like
in
you.
to this group. Right. Yeah.
Uh,
So we know that belonging is good. We know what belonging means. So now how do we increase our sense of belonging?
well, I think the main thing is you just have to make an effort.
Yeah.
And that takes us out of our comfort zones for a lot of us to go into a group of people that we don't know or we don't know very well. And I think my first suggestion would be stop focusing on yourself
Right.
and what the other people are thinking of you, because truly people think about themselves more than they think about you, no matter what you're doing.
Truth. Absolutely.
So if you just go in and start conversation about finding what another person is interested in, their story,
Yeah.
where they came from, it's people remember how is it Maya Angelou said people will forget what you did or what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's how conversation, especially the first time you meet someone, that's what happens. People remember how you made them feel, that you were interested in them.
Yeah.
Because most people aren't.
No, and as I'm talking over you, because I have something to say, thinking about myself. So clearly this is an analogy of what I was. Thank you. Because it really does make me think about kind of on a Sunday morning, and particularly the role that you play as you sit on the welcome, don't sit on the welcome, but you are on the welcome table every Sunday, and you have to think a little bit different than maybe somebody else.
Well, I think that this is such a privilege. What one of my responsibilities are on a Sunday morning, and that is I am at the door, not sitting on the table.
Not sitting on the table.
No, I'm standing at the door, and I get to meet people who have decided on that very morning that for whatever reason that they're coming to St. Anthony. And I just am so in awe of these people because I don't make those decisions. I wake up on Sunday morning and I get dressed and I go to church because that's what I do. But for these people, they're weighing the pros and cons. Is this a church for me? Am I going to feel accepted? Are these people going to be too strange for me? Am I not going to be able to get out when I've had enough? I mean, all these things that we've all been at a church the first time.
Yeah.
And all these things go through our heads about what am I going to find? And is this the group that I want to be part of? So I consider it such a privilege to be able to greet these people and show them how happy we are that they've come, no matter where they are in their spiritual journey. They may be just here for a day or for a few weeks, just to have a rest as they continue on. And we're just so blessed and appreciative that that they're here.
It makes me think of, people enter our lives for three things: a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I think, especially in a church setting.
I like that.
Yeah, people are here either for, maybe like you said, maybe they just need we call ourselves the oasis on the way, and maybe they just need to recharge. Refresh. And maybe they just they're here for this little time. Or maybe they've decided to really make St. Anthony their church home. I mean, it really is just a really cool way for us as a church, as a community to really practice that acceptance, attitude of acceptance. And so,
and we're grateful.
Oh, very grateful. Yeah. I mean, it's just wonderful. And I think about kind of going back to that, why belong to a church? Why do we show up on Sunday morning? I think we all find groups, we find our friends because of the ideas, the style, they're similar to our own. And you going into a church may not be that way, because God puts people in a congregation that we can learn from, that we can understand maybe a difference from. I didn't grow up in the Episcopal Church, but I'm surrounded by people who are, they use the term cradle Episcopalians, who've been brought up into it. And when I first came in, I was like, well, do I stand? Do I kneel? Do I, and
the answer is yes.
Yes, it is. What is your custom and what is your physical ability? And so when I was just think of when I see new people come in and we're all kind of looking around like, what do I do? It is you, And so I think belonging to a church also there's value in finding, being able to use your gifts to serve others. It gives us a sense of fulfillment and purpose. And belonging to a church also helps us learn the purpose that God has for us. Whether we're, whatever we're supposed to do, sometimes maybe we feel called to do this, and maybe we reach out to somebody and they're like, I was thinking the same thing, or, that is a neat idea. What if we did this? And it can kind of morph into something that we didn't even have a vision of it.
And I think that's a place where the church is really strong, is helping people to identify their gifts. And we call them spiritual gifts.
Right.
And the difference between gifts and abilities in a church is an ability is something that, like, most of us have the ability to wash dishes,
Right.
maybe to make coffee, maybe to run the copier. And that just fills a gap in the events that go on in the church.
Right.
But what we really want people to do is to figure out where their passion is, where they can use that passion for the betterment of others.
Yeah.
And so that's why we call it a gift. And it could be washing dishes.
I was going to say, that
could
hospitality
be where your passion is, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
So it has to be something we talked about before, that's sustainable, that makes you want to do more and more and more.
Yeah, and I think that's really a good way kind of lead into our next point is we receive in a church setting unending grace and forgiveness so every day, so that we have the ability to go and give that to everyone else that we meet. And so I really think that helps our positive self-talk. I think that helps us talk differently to people when we say, you know what, that's all right. You know what, we did something here, we tried this, it may not have worked out, or it may have been awesome, and I want to give you props for that, because we are in a place where, in a community that we love, that we care about. And then ultimately we meet love every day, face to face.
We do. It's a reason why we're here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, I just said absolutely because I'm so excited.
I know. That's Will's favorite word.
My favorite word.
In case you didn't know. But and I think that the analogy we use too as being part of Christ's body is so important, because it shows you that all the parts are different, but they're all crucial, and they have to be together to work. So if you were a thumb and you were out somewhere all on your own, you would be a very lonely thumb. But your purpose would not be fulfilled without being part of a body.
Yep.
So I like that, and I'm different parts of the body at different times, I believe.
Absolutely.
But we're all needed.
Yep.
We're all absolutely needed, with Christ being the head.
Absolutely. Yeah. With that said, I don't know. Do you have anything else, Jill?
No.
Wonderful.
No,
well,
just come and belong.
I was going to say, we invite you to come to St. Anthony on the Desert, either physically. We also worship online, but we'd love to have you and see you and meet you. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, find us, share, all that good stuff. 2 likes if you can. So we are so grateful for you. Be sure to follow the link to St. Anthony and learn more about us. Thank you so much.
Blessings.